Good day, everybody. Kurt with CRUISIN Classics here. Again, welcome to our showroom. When you're buying a classic car like one of these beauties that we have, you're faced with many questions, many hard decisions. One of those might be classic car insurance. Well, we're going to take that off the table. There is an easy solution. We have a gentleman named Matt Pecikonis with HAGERTY Insurance. We also have a bunch of questions for him to kind of take the insurance thing off the table, make it an easy decision. Lots and lots of pretty cars, lots and lots of big decisions. Let's take insurance off the table, and we will welcome Matt from HAGERTY to answer those questions. And good day, everybody. As promised, I have Matt Pecikonis from HAGERTY Insurance joining us today.
Hey, Kurt.
And we are answering a ton of questions. We actually fielded them out in the Facebook world, and people responded with a bunch of questions. I think they're very good questions, and questions that need to be answered, for people in their decision making when they do get classic car insurance.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, with that in mind, HAGERTY Insurance at HAGERTY.com. Tell us a little bit about the story of HAGERTY.
So the story of HAGERTY is that Franklin Louis HAGERTY basically had a really successful insurance business. They also really loved their classic boats. So up in northern Michigan and Lake Michigan, the classic boat scene was a very popular scene. However, they really found that it was difficult to place those Chris Craft boats on any type of insurance.
Sure.
So what they decided is the HAGERTY family said, we're going to sell off our agency and we're going to start an insurance company out of our basement.
Wow.
So they started off just insuring those Chris Craft boats. After that, they kind of realized that, hey, we really see a need for classic car insurance, and obviously the HAGERTY family's big in classic cars. So they started adding classic cars to the mix. Slowly but surely, we added motorcycles, classic trailers, or classic tractors. Mm-hmm. We added, military vehicles, things like that, to our list of insured vehicles. Oh. Overnight, it exploded.
Wow.
Obviously a lot of hard work from the HAGERTY family, but it's still a family-owned business. We're still privately held, but we believe in what we're doing. And as kind of evidence, we're expanding into the marketplace. We're actually going to be opening up a call center here in Dublin, Ohio.
Awesome.
Yeah, so really exciting stuff. But the history is basically they saw a need. They really found a passion for classic boats, classic cars.
And there is a need, that's
and there is definitely a need. And they started seeing that people really wanted to have the right coverage.
Sure. And that was a long time ago, I'm guessing. So
yeah, well, it's been about 1984.
No kidding. Well,
yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
So that's about when they started working out of their basement. But obviously, they're extremely intelligent people, and they knew what they needed to do. And they saw that need was so great,
awesome.
For those Chris Craft boats and for classic cars.
Well, I can tell you that HAGERTY is usually who we recommend right from the get-go. Of course, we sell classic cars and trucks and all over the place. And it's just an easy choice for us. So with that said, thank you also for your time today.
Hey, no problem, guys.
We once again got a bunch of questions, great questions from the Facebook crowd, and we're just going to crank them out.
Yeah,
Shall
let's
we
do
get
it.
started? Okay, Rod, he would like for you to explain full replacement value.
So in the insurance world, full replacement value is a word or a phrase that gets turned around a lot. People mean different things when they talk about it. Mm-hmm. So it's really hard to kind of pinpoint what that particular person's asking. But for Rod, I think what he's really asking is what's guaranteed value mean?
Gotcha.
Right? Guaranteed value means when we set up the policy at the beginning, when you buy your car and you go, hey, I bought that Hemi Cuda for $80,000. And we go, okay, let's see the receipt. Let's agree on that value. We have a group of experts who they comb through the market. and they look at these cars day in, day out. They look at market data, they look at auction data, they go to all the big auctions,
Sure.
and they say, okay, this is what people are paying for these cars. These are the values of these vehicles. And then from there, we agree with you. We say, okay, if you bought it for 80, we see the receipt, we'll insure it for 80. Well, if we agree and put that guarantee on that policy right at the beginning, that means if something happens to it down the road, a year, 2 years, 5 years, we're not changing that value. That means you're going to get that $80,000 in the event of a total loss.
Oh, very nice.
So
it comes from experts who are actually out there in this business, in this
Absolutely.
field, doing their due diligence versus just looking at numbers and looking through a book.
Oh my goodness. We have automotive historians who have libraries of books that they can go through and pick out the details of cars left and right. And you can see on our valuation tool at HAGERTY.com that we even go through and say, hey, if you've got, for example, a Porsche 911 Turbo, but you've got it with the automatic, you're going to remove 15% of the value on that car, right? Or if you've got a rare manual version of a Ferrari 430, hey, you just added 25% to that car.
Doggone right.
Right? So we will have all those options because they are the experts. They go through and that's all they do. And, we also have our concierge service, which you send in an email to our concierge asking any detailed question you might think.
Awesome.
Hey, I was looking at this car and it's got this lifter and I've never seen it before. What is it? Our concierge will actually respond back to our insureds and say, hey, and they're from that group of experts who are helping with the market value. And they go, hey, this is what we found in our research. Here's maybe some information about where you can find additional parts. We'll help you find, those rare and hard to find parts for your cars.
That's what a great addition to just have at your side. And I noticed too, when I did go to HAGERTY.com, there's a ton of information that you can get right straight from there, and very easy to navigate and see. And we have found also that you're very ready to take ready to take questions from anybody that calls, and we've had nothing but great service through you
and
so
if
far.
anyone, we're going to go through these questions and answer them as best we can, but if anyone has further questions, like you said, have them go to our website, reach out to us, give us a phone call. All of our licensed sales agents on the phone are more than happy to answer any questions you have before you even try to get a policy.
Awesome. Sounds great. Shall we move on? And that would be, Ron, if my car is totaled, do I receive the agreed value of the vehicle? What if I have made upgrades since we started the policy?
So that's a really good question. So if we have agreed on a value at the start of a policy, that is absolutely what you get if the car's totaled. Now, if you are making modifications to the vehicle, give us a call. Let us know what those modifications are, because we are car people, and we do see that, if you put, a bigger, a big block engine in your Chevy, right? That's going to add value to that car.
Sure.
If you put a supercharger, turbos, maybe you just put cams and some headers and an exhaust kit, right? That might not add $10,000, but it might add $4,000.
You bet.
And you'd be surprised how little that change affects premium, right? And so absolutely call us if you're making modifications. We're car people. We're not going to say, don't do it.
Sure.
Right? It's your car. Do what you want with it, right? We want you to enjoy your car the way that you want to enjoy it. So if you, keep it completely stock for all those years and don't drive it, that's fine. Or if you want to put, a big supercharger on it,
Sure.
Put that Whipple on there and make sure it whines, right? Get that noise
That's
going.
doggone right. Gotta have it.
But tell us, right?
That's right.
Let us know, and we'll definitely talk with you about how that might affect the value of the car.
Sure.
Most of the time, we're just going to say, hey, if you've added money to it, wheels, tires, paint jobs, anything additional, let us know.
That's awesome to know that throughout the whole policy, if you make good changes, then that only increases the value of your car, which just makes sense.
Yeah.
Just makes sense.
Now, if you add a lot of power to the car, that might change the car from being a stock car to a modified car, and that will change your rate a bit. But we want to make sure that we're accurately representing it. That way, in case there is a loss, you're getting paid. A lot of insurance companies won't do that,
Right.
but we will.
Sure. Awesome. That's awesome. Okay. For Lucas, why is my daily driver needs to be newer than my collector car? For example, I daily drive an early 90s Dodge and have a CTS-V for a summer driver.
Yeah, that's a super good question, Lucas. And what my underwriters are basically looking at in that situation is that they're going to say if you're driving an early 90s Dodge that they think might have problems or is unreliable, what's going to end up happening is if that car breaks down, you're going to be taking out your Classic a little bit more often.
Sure.
And driving it to work more often. But it's really not necessarily always going to be a no in that situation. And, you know, if Lucas's situation was where it did, you know, turn out to be a no,
sure,
you know, have him give us a call and see if you can talk with our underwriters and tell the story about what kind of cars you got. Because there are a lot of times that, you know, people have a collection of much newer cars than their daily driver, right? And that's not always going to be a hard no for us.
Right.
But the issue that we do see is that a lot of times people will have those older cars, the junk cars that will break down, but they've got their money tied up into something nice that they'll drive way more often than the occasional. And we don't mind you using it a lot. You know, we say about 6,500 miles a year, especially in the Midwest here. Like, that's a lot of mileage.
That is a lot of miles.
You know, because we get 4 months of good weather.
Exactly right. That's cruising. That's driving.
Maybe 6 months, right? We'll give it 6, but you know,
you're very generous.
Yeah, I know. If you're doing 6,500 miles here in the Midwest, that's pretty. You know, that's a lot of mileage on those cars.
Sure.
We actually see more likely in Ohio that it's going to be about 3,000, and that's using it 2-3 times a day or a week.
Right.
So that's really what they're looking for. Is they want to make sure that you're going to be using that collectible car as a collectible once in a while car.
Gotcha.
But we're also not going to say don't use it for the things that you want to use it for.
Right.
So once you have our types of policies, you know, a lot of our competitors will put into their policies like you have to be around the car, you can't leave it with a valet, you can't let your buddy drive it. You know, we don't have any of that. We say, hey, you use your car the way you want to use it. If you want to go to the racetrack, we have track day insurance for it, right? Wow. So it's an additional policy, but hey, we understand you may go to mid Ohio, race up there. You may go to national trails, hit the drag strip. Where the normal policy wouldn't cover that, we can sell you an additional, fairly inexpensive track day policy for that.
So you can relax a little bit.
Exactly.
Enjoy the car. Don't quit worrying about it so much and enjoy the car.
Exactly, and use it the way you want. Take your wife or your husband out to dinner in it, right? Give it to the valet and park it, right? Or maybe your buddy says, hey, you know, I've been eyeballing your Hemi Cuda, and we got this plum crazy purple one back here, and I'm looking at it and going, hey, you know, just let me drive around the block once. What's the worst that could happen?
I swear I'll just take it around the block.
I know, right? We know what will happen is, you know, you'll fall in love with it, you might wreck it, and if you do, we'll cover it. But if not, now you got another guy who's going to probably come back and buy a classic car, right?
Doggone right. John asks, what is the threshold to determine a car was totaled? What percentage of value?
So that's also, I mean, you guys are spot on with these questions, man.
Yeah, they are great questions. It's great to put it out there to people.
Yeah, and I love getting the opportunity to talk with you guys about it. So there's really not a great percentage I can give you. There's not a mark in the line in the sand that we go, oh, we've reached 35% versus 34%. Now we're going to total it. Right. But what I will tell you is from recent experience with one of our members, as well as just kind of a general rule of thumb with us, is that we want to fix your car.
Right.
We want to get that baby back on the road. We don't find joy in totaling your car.
Right.
You know, most of these guys with these cars say, hey, I want that car back out on the road. I want my baby back in my garage. Right. You know, we'll do such crazy things as having you work on your own car and paying you to do the work. You know, we'll take it to experts. And we have another question later on that's going to be asking about that, and we can kind of go into detail there. But, you know, for a recent member, what we had is they paid out about 2/3 of the value of the car before they actually said, you know what, we're looking at the future expenses.
Sure.
And we might want to total this car.
Maybe it's time.
And we had the conversation with the member and said, hey, look, you know, we have put X amount of dollars into this work. We see that there's still work to be done. You know, we will do things like look up fabricating parts for members. You know, if they've got a special cowl hood that's no longer produced, that was a 1 year option. Mm-hmm. You know, we're going to talk to manufacturers in the business and see if we can manufacture that hood for you. Right? We're going to do more crazy things.
That's very cool.
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of crazy things to try to get these cars back up and running. We also understand, you know, some car manufacturers, or at least, you know, insurance companies rather, they want to total these cars quickly, and they don't want to pay for the work to be done right.
Right.
And we understand, you know, we had a member who had a amazing blue Torino GT, Concours level car.
Wow.
You know, still had all the paint markings on the rubber hoses,
Wow.
right? And unfortunately, somebody's tent fell on the car at a car show. Guys, put the weights on your tents.
Please, please.
That's your
We've all seen
liability.
it.
Yeah, if you've got a tent popped up, it's on you if something happens, man. I tell you what, I see all these tents put up and they've got one bag of sand on there. It's like,
Right.
no, get 4 bags of sand. You never know when a wind gusts. Those things are like parachutes, man. But it fell on his car and put probably a golf ball sized dent in the recorder panel. But it was right up by the rear window, the rear glass. And it's not in a place where you can pull off a body panel, fix it, bang it out, and
Gotcha.
have it look brand new. And since this car was a Concours level car, and the owner told us the story about this car, sent us the documentation, we said, okay, where the appraisers initially said it was going to be about a $600 job, we go, that's ridiculous. It's not $600.
Sure.
Right? So he took it to a specialist. The specialist gave us their estimate, their opinion on the car, and we went from our initial estimate of $600 to paying out just about $3,000
Wow.
to have the rear half of that car repainted and cleared.
But you brought that car back to life.
Yeah, and we
It
want to
was
make
worth it.
exactly. And we want to make sure it looks as good as it did coming in.
Sure.
Right? We do the best we can, and we give people the option. And we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Awesome. And as we move on, Patrick would like to know, will you insure a classic car with modified suspension, such as hydraulics or air ride?
Yeah, absolutely. So we will absolutely do modified vehicles. We'll do all the way up to 1,000 horsepower cars.
Awesome.
Obviously, that's going to require a different type of underwriting. Specifically with the modified suspension, air ride, and hydraulics, is that a lot of these hydraulics, they're going to be on lowriders. We have requirements for lowriders. They got to be over $30,000 in value. They've got to have low jack. We understand here in Ohio it's not as big of an issue,
Right.
but our guidelines kind of fit throughout the country, not just throughout one state.
Sure.
And so in certain parts of the country, they get stolen a lot. They they'll take a cheaper car like a Chrysler K car, throw in a bunch of money into the suspension, won't reach that mark of 30,000, and we'll say no to it. So air ride, like the airbags and stuff you see in muscle cars, those
Right.
are no problem.
Gotcha.
But the hydraulics for like the jumpers and things like that, it's not a hard no, but it's definitely a red flag that our underwriters want to have a bigger conversation with.
Closer look.
Yeah, and what I tell people, and agents included, because I speak a lot more with agents than I do members, is that tell us the story. Everyone at Hagerty's are car people. Our underwriters, our licensed sales agents, all the way up to our our owner and our presidents. They're all car people. We do this because we have passion for it.
They're on your side.
Exactly. And so if you call us and say, hey, this is the story of the car, this is why I have it, this is who I am, that gives us a little bit more in-depth look at why we should say yes.
Sure.
Right? Tell us why we should say yes. And a lot of times people go, I don't want to, do that work. It's like, it's just telling us the story, right? I know all you car guys and car gals out there love talking about your cars.
Yeah,
So,
doggone right they do.
yeah, so tell us the
And so
story.
they should.
And they should. These cars are beautiful. They're pieces of art. They're museum pieces. Or you've put your time and your effort and your sweat and blood into that car.
Sure.
Tell us why we should insure it, right?
Awesome.
So yeah, absolutely, we will do modified suspension. If you put airbags in your S10, or if you put it in your Camaro, that's no problem. But if you're putting like the hydraulics for jumping,
Sure.
we're gonna have questions for you, and that's just because we want to make sure we know what we're getting into and that you understand how we want it to be protected.
And like you said earlier, tell us your story.
Yeah, tell us the story,
Let's
man.
get her done. Awesome. Okay, and moving on. Steve would like to know, does Hagerty use classic-only shops for claims?
So the fun story about that, Steve, is that we'll use whoever you want, right? We look to you as the expert. We absolutely have a expert repair network of shops that we have seen provide the utmost quality, as well as provide our members with the best service, right? So we will have them in our back pocket and say, hey, if you don't know of anybody, here are some places that you could take your car.
Right.
But if you go, hey, I know my buddy down the street who does the best work, he's not a big shop, he doesn't have the best facility, but he's going to get the work done and it's going to look better than anybody else could do it, absolutely take it to him. And
No
like,
kidding. That's awesome.
yeah, and like I said earlier, if you are that mechanic, if you're like, hey, I got a body shop, I have a paint booth, I know how to do all this work, we'll actually pay members to do their own work.
Wow.
So they'll submit, their hourly rate. They'll submit their, hours worked on the car, and we'll say, hey, okay, this is what we would normally pay for labor.
Right.
This is what we'd normally pay for parts and paint and all that, and we'll work with you to pay you to fix your own car.
Wow, that's awesome. And everybody, a lot of the classic car owners have their own little network of who they take their car to, who they trust their car with.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
And tell
Very
us
cool.
who those people are too, because we're always looking for shops that we can get involved with to be in our expert repair network, who we can help insure commercially, or who we just want to make sure we partner with, because Hagerty's not just in the business of insurance, we're a lifestyle brand now too. So we want to make sure we partner with great people that we can say, hey, these people bring up and lift up the automotive community.
Right.
So we need to celebrate them and really put forth the effort to help provide them with the work that can help keep them going.
That's awesome.
Right? Help the people who help us. Right?
Awesome service. Thank you. That's a great answer. And also, Steve, a great question.
Very good question.
Okay, Paul, can I insure more than vehicles, house, renters, etc.?
So as much as I wish Hagerty, with as awesome of an insurance company as we are, could do home and renters and all that, no.
There is a line.
There is a line in the sand, and the weird answer is yes, you can do more than just classic vehicles, and we'll kind of get into that. But you can't do auto or normal use auto, renters, homeowners, flood, all those types. No, those are out. But we have a lot of great collectible insurance that we can give to people. So if you've got a retired military vehicle, if you've got a retired fire truck or another commercial vehicle, we'll do that. Like we talked about earlier, Hagerty got their start with Chris Craft, watercraft, right? They love those wood panel boats, and we'll actually do some newer stuff too.
Wow.
So any vintage boats we'll do. We'll do vintage motorcycles, right? Up to, I think, right now it's like 90s motorcycles we'll consider in our vintage motorcycle class. I definitely know anything older than 70 we'll do.
Right.
But we have a ton of different options. Oh, big thing, especially in the Midwest, is tractors.
Oh, wow.
A lot of guys and gals collect tractors. They've been working on their farms with it, and they just say, hey, well, I got the next one, so I just put that one in the barn.
A lot of those out there.
Oh my goodness, so many. I went and viewed a collection of $3 million worth of tractors.
Wow.
He had tractors from 1801. Like, they were just
No kidding.
crazy stuff. So we'll do tractors. But yeah, we do a ton of different things other than just classic cars and classic boats.
Make a phone call.
Make a phone call.
Doggone
Give us a
right.
call. And you can find all that information at HAGERTY.com.
Awesome.
Like, we'll very quickly show you what you can and cannot insure with us.
I'm sure. Awesome. Sean, he would like to know, is there a year cutoff for insurable vehicles through Hagerty?
So, another good question. So we have a long time been known as a classic car insurance, right? And when people think of classics, they go, maybe 70s and older, right? 70s, 60s, 50s. But we really have to look at what classic means to the community, right? And it used to be to, especially like the baby boomers, classics were the 50s, 60s,
That's right.
70s maybe cars, right? But as generations shift and we get more and more people, in the Generation Y, the millennials, they're now getting a little bit more disposable income, right? And so they're looking to quote. We actually get more quotes by Gen X's and millennials than we do baby boomers right now. And what that means is we have to adjust and be fluid with our idea of what classic is. So right now, our kind of what we'd call core vehicles goes all the way up to early 2000s.
Wow.
So,
As an old guy, that's kind of hard to hear, but that's okay.
But you know what? We should celebrate all those cars
Absolutely.
as being what they are, because
The more the merrier.
The more the merrier. But, as times change, we look at them like, there are so many cars that get LS swaps, right? And you look at all the cars that had like an LS1 in it. I had an 04 GTO for a long, long time. And to see those now being considered classics on Hagerty, it's kind of cool to me.
It has to, you bet.
Right? That's what I grew up on. And if I had the opportunity to buy back my GTO, my red-on-red GTO, I'm coming for you. I know my VIN. I'm going to find it.
Well, I know your insurance company, that's for
Right.
sure.
But we'll also do newer stuff too. So, sorry, the floor's a little squeaky. But we'll also do newer stuff too. So we don't have a hard cutoff where we'll say no to a vehicle.
Right.
It really depends on how you're using it, because we'll do tuners, we'll do JDM, we'll do European exotics, we'll do German exotics. We'll do a brand new Ferrari if we want to.
Right.
But you have to understand, we are a premium product,
Right.
and we focus on that guaranteed value. So When you start talking about the newer stuff, like a new Corvette or a new Porsche GT3,
right.
it is going to be a guaranteed value policy. So whatever you paid for the car, and if we agreed to that value, that's going to be what you get if you total that car in a week.
Right.
Which we show for those exotics. It's
Sure.
somebody with more money than driving skill.
Sure.
Wraps it around a tree or something like that.
Yep.
So they're hard to insure, but we can do it, and we will guarantee the value on those cars.
It can be done.
It can be done. And if you have a big collection of cars, now you're going to qualify for our expert collectors.
Oh,
Right.
nice.
So, and we'll do a mix of classic and new cars in those expert collector policies.
Oh, nice.
And members can qualify for that if you've got 6 vehicles with a total collection of $250,000 worth of value, or if you've got any number of cars and the value exceeds $500,000, you're now one of our expert collectors, and you really get a benefit to the rate on that because we know you're not going to be driving all those cars around at the exact same time.
Right.
And you're also going to get a lot of our endorsements, like our Cherish Salvage, automatically. Cherish Salvage basically says that if you've totaled that car, we give you the salvage, and then we also give you the total check
Wow.
for the agreed amount. So if you wreck that car, you can turn it in that drag car of your dreams, right?
Wow, that is very cool.
Yeah,
Very cool. Good to know. And great question as well.
absolutely.
Okay, moving on with Tricia. I heard through the grapevine that if you have your classic car through Hagerty, you could insure your non-classic cars through them. Is that true?
We kind of touched on
Yeah,
that
we
with
sure
the last
did.
question, but Tricia, I mean, very good question. So we really focus on the collectible vehicles. So if you've got a classic and you're thinking that maybe you've put a lot of money into a newer vehicle that you're driving it just every once in a while, it's not your daily use vehicle. It is something that we can add. And if you have a big collection of cars, it kind of opens up the underwriting criteria for that a little bit. So we've seen where a shop's got 10 cars, under the collection, and they also got an S10 pickup that's the shop truck that maybe we can look at insuring. But for what I think you're asking is if we'll do your daily vehicle, and I don't think that's we don't do daily use vehicles.
Gotcha.
But as long as it's something that you're using occasionally, and you have pride in what it is, or it's somehow collectible to you,
Right.
we can do it.
Awesome. Okay, and with our last question, Brandon would like to know, how do we agree on a value? What if my vehicle does not book much, but what if it's worth more? What value is used?
Yeah, so I mean that's a super good question,
Yeah, that's
because a
great.
lot of you will go to like Kelley Blue Book, NADA, and see what's my car worth. Well, worth and value are a lot different. Value is basically what somebody's going to pay for it.
Sure.
Worth is going to include sentimental value, right? It's going to have something to you, right? That might be your dad's car, that might be your grandpa's car, that might be something that you worked on as a kid in the grandpa's shop, learning to work on cars and learning to wrench, right? So it's going to have a little bit more value to you.
Sure.
So the easy way to answer this is that our valuation tool, our guys that man our valuation tool are top notch. I mean, they're historians basically on the automotive community, and they look at all these cars as best they can and looking at values. They're going to come up with at least 4 different options, right? So we talk about Concours level cars. These cars win awards all over the world.
Awesome.
Then we talk about amazing cars, right? These are cars that definitely are going to be winning awards in the regional area, right? So
Sure.
you're known if you've got this car in a certain set.
Right.
And then we have good quality cars, which are mostly where cars sit. And then we have fair, like, hey, yeah, maybe it's a little rough around the edges, but it's something for you,
Right.
So the easiest way that we kind of look at values, we go to our valuation tool, and you can look at it too at HAGERTY.com. Punch in your make and model, and we have a ton of cars on. We don't have everything.
Right straight from the website.
Right straight from the website. Sign up. You get 3 different valuations for free. But then if you join our test drive program for our Hagerty Drivers Club, we can go into that a little bit later. But you can join test drive for Hagerty Drivers Club for free, and you get unlimited access to our valuation tool for at least 3 years.
Wow.
But we offer so much more in terms of value. You can do total market from the day it was sold
Right.
to the value it is now, the last 5 years of how it's sold. But we've got a ton of different market data in there that you can get if you actually pay for a Hagerty Drivers Club member. But we'll go into the Drivers Club here in a little bit. But use that valuation tool first, right? That's going to tell you where we're kind of coming from.
Gotcha.
Then tell us the story. Tell us what it's got. We're going to ask if you look at, like one of these Camaros here, is that you go, hey, it's worth 60 grand by our tool, but you paid maybe 90,000 for it, or you've put 50 grand worth of money into the motor after you bought it for 60. Right? Tell us that. And that's how our underwriters are going to look at it. We're going to ask, what parts did you put on, right? Tell us the story again. Showed us a couple of pictures, right? It's not necessarily required, but it just makes it easier for us to look and say, hey, the work there's some love and attention to that work. That's got value to it, right? And then we agree at the beginning when we write the policy. And once our underwriters and you come to a consensus on that value, it's locked in. And you can change that value on the policy. So if you go 3 years from now and you go, hey, that's a little high, I think I need to drop it down, you can drop it down if you want. Or if market data shows that it's exploding in value, call us up and we can adjust it from there. But to get it started, we all agree on that value.
It sounds like that you are on the side of the car owner.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean that's just you can't beat that. That's what it's supposed to be like.
And we've shown that some of our competitors, they definitely like to use market data to say, oh, at time of loss, we're gonna appreciate this car as to what it should be.
Right.
We've had members buy cars, for example, a newer Saab 900, right? They paid I think it was $13,500 off of Bring a Trailer, right? And Bring a Trailer is documented out the wazoo. You know what I mean? There's tons of information on those cars and why they are the value that they are. It is an auction site, so people are paying what they feel the value of the car is. So that member came to us and said, hey, I want to put $13,500. We said, sure. He looked at the premium and said, well, I got an option from one of my other agents and it was cheaper. We said, well, this is a guaranteed value. If something happens to it, that's what you're getting. Well, he went with the other company, and they put it at $12,000. When they had the wreck, they actually only paid out about $9,000.
Wow.
So he lost so much money on that car. He's like, I can't replace this car. And they go, well, we found a comparable in the area that you can buy and become whole again with this car. And he goes, that's not my car. Right? And so we really push that. We've trademarked, and we're one of the only companies that trademarked this guaranteed value. Yes, it is an agreed value policy, but we're guaranteeing it. Right? At the end of the day, if something were to happen to it and that car is wrapped around a tree, totally gone, catches fire, here's your check.
Wow, awesome. Now you just brushed upon, and I actually took a little drive around the HAGERTY.com website as well, and it's called the Drivers Club.
Correct, Hagerty Drivers Club.
And if you would be so kind to expand on that a little bit, because I think it's awesome, and I don't think a lot of people know about it or should know about it, and I think now's your time to hit us up.
Absolutely. So early December of last year, I believe 2018, we decided that we were going to roll out a new product called the Hagerty Drivers Club. It replaced our Hagerty Plus, which was what everybody knew as our kind of our roadside assistance, right?
Gotcha.
So it started with the idea of, hey, guaranteed flatbed towing. We know we want to train the people who come out to get your baby in the best way possible, so they're going to treat that car as best as they can.
They're not going to put a hook on the front of it.
They're not going to put a hook on it. They're not going to use chains. Like a lot of these guys said, oh yeah, I got a flatbed, and they show up with a flatbed and they get out these big, machining chains, and you're like, what am I going to do with that? And they put it around the axle and they drag it and they ruin your powder coating, right? So we guarantee that they're going to be soft straps. We guarantee flatbed towing. We've trained up the company we work with, so all they got to do is call through us, and they're going to treat you like the member that you are to a company as great as Hagerty. But that's kind of where it started. What we then did is we included our membership to our magazine. So we do 6 issues a year of the 4th largest automotive magazine in circulation around the world.
Holy cow.
We've got great articles in there from huge people in the automotive community like Jay Leno, Wayne Carini, just awesome articles for everybody.
Very nice.
And it doesn't just, our magazine doesn't just focus on like one sect of the automotive community. We don't just go, oh, we're going to talk about Concours level cars.
Right.
We're going to talk about everything. There was an article in there about 2 guys buying a air-cooled VW Bug and driving it across the country to guys jumping things over the dunes, right? So tons of different amazingly awesome articles in there. But then we also said, what else can we do? So we added our discount partners. So we have, and we're adding daily, different discount partners that our Hagerty Drivers Club members can save. Up to 10% or more when they visit our partners. So, for example, Griot's Garage, you can save on all of the liquid detailers and things that you want.
Wow.
California car covers. Get that fitted car cover for your car.
Very nice.
Reliable carrier. Save a little bit on moving your car if you're going from one, Concours event to the other.
Sure.
But we have a ton of different discount partners on that site. Skip Barber Racing School. Go learn how to drive your car, right? Wow. Which I highly recommend everybody go to some kind of racing school. Learn how to drive performance-oriented cars because
it makes complete sense.
It makes complete sense.
That's
and
what
you
you're
can
driving. Be good at it.
When you can use that stuff on the street, and
Sure.
not necessarily drive fast, but
Sure.
you can say, hey, okay, I understand how my
that at all.
no, not at all. But you can learn how to definitely control your car better on the street just by understanding how it works,
Sure.
right? But we also include our Hagerty Drivers Club member-only events, right? So, for example, Ford versus Ferrari just came out. Well, we rented an entire theater and opened it up to Hagerty Drivers Club members, and they got in for free. So them and a spouse got in or a plus one got in for free, plus $10 to concessions, and they got in for free for that. And we're doing tons of different member-only events where we're going to visit, private collections. We're going to go visit great places like CRUISIN Classics and have, an open house where we're going to provide food,
Awesome.
beverage, and people are going to come have a great time socializing with other like-minded people,
And come see some very cool
Oh my
cars.
goodness. Yeah, definitely come check out CRUISIN Classics. They've got some amazing cars here. But, we roll that all into the Hagerty Drivers Club because we understand that, the automotive community is a lifestyle, and we are a family almost that we want
exactly that, you bet.
we want to celebrate those people. We want to say, hey, the best way that we can do it is by you joining our club. And if you don't want, our club prices start at $45. So you can get in for free to get access to our valuation tool, join our online email system where you're going to get emails of cool things,
Right.
cool articles. And then you can go up to, if you wanted to replace AAA, we'll do, with our top level third gear Hagerty Drivers Club, we'll actually cover all the cars in the household and all the drivers in the household. And they're guaranteed flatbed for all of those cars. So, and that's $170, and you're getting 150 miles worth of towing.
Holy cow.
So, plus all of the benefits of, twice or 6 issues of our magazine. So once every 2 months. Great magazine.
And you have a beautiful car. Get the best stuff. Get the best insurance. Get the best coverage that you can. That would be the Drivers Club is like a no-brainer.
Yeah, and it can
Cover
be
yourself.
it can be added as part of insuring one of your cars.
Oh, wow.
Or if you're just somebody who goes, hey, maybe I sold my car, I'm looking for the next one, but I still want to be plugged into that automotive lifestyle.
Sure.
You can keep your membership right with us going, and I've sold so many to people that just said, I just love your magazine.
Wow.
$45 for 6 issues of thick magazines.
Wow.
You can have them come in and just be members of that. So they're activating with Hagerty members. They're getting access to the club events. They're getting access to all of our tools online. They're getting our magazine. It's kind of a no-brainer.
That is a no-brainer. That's exactly right. Please go to Hagerty.com. Click on the Drivers Club. You can get all kinds of information there. Not only just on the Drivers Club, but just all sorts of information. When you do have a classic car, you should insure it. Insure it well with a great company, and we believe that Hagerty is one of those companies.
We really
Nice.
appreciate that.
Mr. Matt, it sure was a pleasure to speak with you today, and thank you so much for taking your time with us.
Yeah.
And I think we answered their questions. You answered their questions. It cleared the fog.
Yeah.
And I think people don't need to be all fogged up with questions like this, especially with insurance too. Just get straight to the right company.
Yeah.
Make a phone call. They can do it in a matter of moments, from what I understand. And it's a great choice.
Yeah, and Kurt, your guys' Facebook community is great to have everybody there, answering questions, asking questions. Keep that going because, you guys are going to be the ones who really push the automotive community forward, right? So keep asking questions, and maybe that'll get Kurt to have me on again. We can do
There you
a
go.
question part 2, right?
Part 2, it is. Matt, been a pleasure.
Kurt, thanks, man.
Thank you so much. And thank you for tuning in. And we will see you shortly. Thanks.